You and I have been told a very tidy story. If you don't clock 40 to 48 hours a week, the economy falls over, the profits evaporate, and society collapses into a 3-day weekend of napping and questionable life choices. It sounds dramatic because it is. So here's the question that gets you suspicious right away. If longer hours are the magical fertilizer for productivity, why do so many studies show output per hour actually goes down when hours keep climbing? And why do so many companies who tried shorter weeks report either the same output or more? Let's poke the myth with a stick and see what oozes out. First, the more hours equals more output idea makes sense only up to a point. Past that point, you're just squeezing a dry sponge. Economists have studied this for over a century, and the pattern keeps showing up. There's a threshold where piling on hours gives you less and less for each extra hour. One landmark analysis found that beyond roughly the high 40s per week, output rises at a decreasing rate because fatigue and errors creep in. Translation: after about 48 hours, you aren't getting superhero mode. You're getting people moving slower, fixing more mistakes, and redoing work they shouldn't have messed up in the first place. That's not lean, that's leaking. If you've ever stared at a spreadsheet at 7:13 p.m. and watched numbers turn to alphabet soup, you know the vibe. It isn't just "I'm a little tired." In fields where mistakes are measurable, think shift-based care work, researchers repeatedly find that longer weeks and overtime correlate with more errors and adverse events. Those are expensive, risky, and definitely not productive. So much for the grind is king narrative. Now for the part where the myth tries to move the goalposts. Okay, maybe individuals slow down, but companies need those 40 to 48 hours to stay profitable. Do they? Let's look at entire organizations that actually ran the experiment. When Microsoft Japan tried a 4-day week, closing on Fridays, they saw productivity per employee jump by around 40%, while people spent less time in meetings and email. That's not a rounding error. That's a smack upside the head to the idea that more time automatically means more value. And this wasn't a one-off corporate field trip. In the UK's nationally coordinated pilot, 61 companies across industries cut hours by about 20% with no pay cut. What happened? Employees reported lower stress and burnout, resignations dropped, sick days fell dramatically, and revenue was broadly stable with a small average uptick during the trial. A year later, most participating firms kept the shorter week because their key business metrics held up. When something trashes productivity, companies don't keep it. If you prefer your examples outside the UK, New Zealand's Perpetual Guardian ran the shorter week test, measured it with university researchers, and found no drop in output, and in some measures, a boost with happier staff. Iceland ran multi-year trials with 35, 36-hour weeks across a wide range of workplaces and saw either steady or improved productivity alongside better well-being. It's almost as if humans are not productivity vending machines that you just cram hours into. Wait, you ask, if this is so clear, why is 40 to 48 hours still the default? Great question. Partly path dependence. Once a standard gets baked into payroll systems, laws, and expectations, it's sticky. Decades ago, rules like overtime after 40 hours were designed to discourage excess hours by making them expensive. In practice, loopholes, exemptions, and changing job classifications dulled that signal over time. Today, the 40-hour line is often treated as a floor to be sneaked under or a target to be exceeded, not a ceiling with a price tag. That's not physics, that's policy and habit. Another reason is coordination. Shorter hours work best when teams redesign how they work, not when they simply squish 5 messy days into 4 messier ones. The successful trials didn't say same chaos, less time. They killed zombie meetings, set crystal clear priorities, and tightened focus. That's also why the research on diminishing returns matters. If hour 49 is worse than hour 39, then the secret to profit isn't buying 10 more of those lousy hours. It's upgrading what happens in the first 32 to 36 hour. Now let's address the spicier hunch you might have. Maybe the 40 to 48 hour norm isn't about productivity at all. Maybe it keeps people just worn out enough to spend money to soothe the exhaustion and not ask too many hard questions. Look, that story is emotionally satisfying, but sweeping motives across bosses or the system is a big claim, and big claims need big evidence. What we can say with confidence is this: longer average hours correlate with more fatigue, more errors, and in many economies, lower output per hour compared to countries working fewer hours. Countries with shorter average weeks often have higher GDP per hour worked, while places clocking some of the longest hours don't lead on productivity per hour. The link between hours and per hour output is not more hours equals more productive. It's much closer to smarter structure equals more productive. Before you fire off the comment, "This won't work in my industry," you might be right. Not every sector can flip a switch and hand everyone Fridays off. Shift-based services, emergency response, hospitality, and logistics need coverage. But even in those fields, the principle still holds. There's a point where extra hours buy you more mistakes than output. That's why successful shorter hours pilots in coverage-heavy organizations focus on staffing models, handoffs, and schedule fairness, because the human brain is part of your infrastructure. Don't overclock the wetware. Here's where it gets useful. If you manage a team or a business and want the benefits without the belly flop, don't start by slashing a day and praying. Start by treating time as a budget that must earn its keep. Run a 6 to 8 week pilot with a few guardrails. 1. Put a hard cap on meeting length and default to asynchronous updates. 2. Pick 2 or 3 core priorities each week and let the rest wait politely in line. 3. Make metrics explicit. Define the lagging stuff you must protect. Revenue, customer satisfaction, incident rates, and the leading stuff that tells you you're on track. Cycle time, on-time delivery, rework rates. 4. Build a failure is data loop. Collect weekly feedback and fix the bottlenecks. 5. Never compress people. Compress waste. What outcome should you expect? If the research and case studies are any guide, you'll likely see the same or better output per hour and fewer costly mistakes. You might also see fewer sick days, better retention, and calmer humans who can do deep work because you stopped lighting their calendars on fire. That has a profit impact. And because many of you are watching in Mexico, yes, there's momentum to move from a 48-hour standard toward 40 hours nationally. The conversation is active precisely because the evidence keeps stacking up that smarter work beats longer work. Wherever you live, the direction of travel is the same. Don't worship the clock, measure the value. Let's wrap this up with a simple mental model. Hours are a tool, not a virtue. Past the mid-40s, you're probably buying fatigue more than output. Shorter weeks, done right, swap filler time for focus time, and companies that try it thoughtfully aren't reporting productivity meltdowns. They're reporting fewer resignations, fewer sick days, and either the same money or more. The myth says you need 40 to 48 hours to keep the wheels on. The facts say you need good design, clear goals, and the guts to challenge a schedule that's older than your grandparents' favorite radio drama. Actionable takeaway time. If you're a worker, audit your week. What would you stop, shrink, or automate if Friday disappeared? What would you defend with your life because it directly creates value? If you're a manager, announce a pilot with explicit metrics and cut 2 things immediately: recurring meetings without a written agenda and work in progress overloading. Decide what good looks like in advance, then let the results tell you whether to keep going. If you're an executive, remember you don't pay for hours, you pay for outcomes. You can't deposit "we stayed late" into the bank. All right, myth busting complete. A 40 to 48 hour week is a habit, not a universal law of productivity or profit. The smart move isn't to work longer, it's to work better. If this made you raise an eyebrow or roll both eyes, hit subscribe to join the debunkers, tap like if your calendar deserves a diet, and drop a comment telling us the one meeting you'd vaporize first. We'll be here next time, questioning the everyone knows stuff so you don't have to.